an hour and a half on Crash Happy.
Are you live on both channels at the same time?
I think so.
What the fuck?
I
How?
think.
Because you can just use different stream keys.
Huh. Interesting.
But the Crash Happy
I mean-
stream is tailoring to an end.
I was gonna say this is the end of our time, the first ever Crash Happy race warm up.
I've really enjoyed it.
I've enjoyed it too. What are your guys like pre-race rituals in the last like sort of couple minutes? We've got call it 25 minutes until the race is meant to start properly, tour formation lap. Are you a Brundle's grid walk enjoyer? Are you like
Oh,
a
yeah.
little snack
Grid walk.
maker?
Stand for the national anthem. And then...
Of Australia.
Well, all of
Tear
them,
in
yeah.
his eye.
I do all 24.
I'll stand for the Azerbaijan one when they play like a full rock band and that absolutely slaps.
Hell yeah. But I mean, usually I mean, all these races are like 6 a.m. or most of the time, 90% of the time. So my pre-race ritual is just splashing a bunch of water on my face and setting up my video.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, Doc. I might go do that now. That sounds quite good. I'm going to make
Very
another coffee
effective.
personally. And I'm also going to absolutely ruin several more Tim Tams and probably my carpet. Spilling coffee and melted chocolate
So
all
much
over it.
slamming. Just it's like an NBA finals.
What?
Slam dunks.
Tell me you've never watched basketball.
Oh yeah, I've never watched basketball in my life.
James watches
there's-
basketball. It's like, oh, they got another slam.
If you do more slams, you win the game.
That's bonus points, no?
It's exactly the same number of points as normal. There's a couple per game, but it's normally like 2 per game, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to go make another coffee. I hope everyone watching at home, you enjoy the Australian Grand Prix. We will obviously be back with the normal Crash Happy podcast on Wednesday. We'll record it tomorrow, but it comes out on Wednesday.
Indeed.
It's been good.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to... Oh my God. I brought up the stream on YouTube and it's obviously delayed to the point where I just took my shirt off in front of my own face. Oh God. Oh no. Just pause that.
It's all right. You did it. You did it for... I think we got like £35.
Yeah, just from that one bet. I mean, hey.
Hell yeah. I'll take off more. If you pay
Split
us
that
more. But you
3
have to wait
ways.
till next time.
Yeah.
You have to wait till China. You gotta wait till the normal Grand Prix.
I was going to say where?
But yeah, we'll be back next weekend for the normal Grand Prix. Similar time,
shall.
I want to say. Actually, is it a similar time? No, it's
That's 4 hours
3
later.
hours later.
Oh,
So
a
a bit more reasonable. Only 5 a.m. for us Brits starting the stream.
And then it's
Lovely.
actually going to be late for me. It's going to be like, what, 10 p.m., 11?
11 for you. Race
Yeah.
starts. So it means this stream starts at 9 p.m. It's prime time. Perfect. What's China, says the chat. Sorry, my bad. The normal Grand Prix. The normal Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Who?
Oh,
Where?
We will be back for that. I'm going to go put the kettle back on.
Lovely stuff. I mean, I'm already live on my channel. If you want to head from Crash Happy over to my channel, that'd be lovely. But I can already see that lots of people are live on my channel too. And we are live on
yes.
my channel as well. So
And go subscribe to
Wait.
Dan's offline Twitch.
Are we on your channel, Jen?
yeah, I can only set up one OBS feed. So it's just
I didn't agree to. I didn't sign off on this. Take me
Well,
off. Get me off.
all right. I'll take it off.
I don't want to be on that channel. Ugh.
He's off. You're off. You're off.
But yeah, thank
He's
you guys for watching. Hope you enjoy the Grand Prix. Thank you for all the super chats and everything like that.
Yeah,
I'm off.
absolutely.
See ya.
Wonderful stuff. Bye. Crash Happy.
Bye-bye.
Hello. Not applicable. Obviously, can someone from the Crash Happy team turn off the stream on the Crash Happy account?
I'm fucking crouched under the desk, you did.
Ah, well, I can't. So, oh wait, maybe I can stop it from this end. I can stop it from OBS's end. Goodbye, Mr. V. I will speak to you in like a few hours. he's still under the desk, and I'll look like I'm under the desk because I'm going to stand up. Oh, there we go.
If I stand up now.
you can stand up whenever you like. You were taken off the
You
stream.
have to end the stream first.
Ah, sorry.
I can't ruin the movie magic.
There you go. I think it's there. Maybe.
Stand up on stream, I'm going to be very unhappy.
I know I've changed the camera angle. But I will speak soon. Goodbye.
See ya.
Hello, people of not applicable nature. How are we doing? We are live. Apologies, I'm a little bit late. There was a little bit of crossover there. We are, as you have just seen, doing our own like Grand Prix warm-up sessions before every single Grand Prix. It starts a couple of hours before qualifying over on Crash Happy. Well worth getting involved. Me, Mr. V, Duck today. There will be a rotating cast of characters. I mean, I'll likely be on there most of the time because obviously we do these streams together too. So it was a very fun little hour and a bit to get ourselves prepared for this weekend's action. The biggest sort of news so far is Oscar Piastri, the home Grand Prix curse is at it once again. He is out of the race. He has decided to put his McLaren car into the wall just after turn 4, sort of just before turn 5, got onto the curbs on the outside of turn 4, a little bit messy, and then smashed into the wall on the left-hand side, and is now out of the Grand Prix. So if anybody had Oscar Piastri podium or Oscar Piastri in their fantasy team, all I could do is apologize because he is not going to be taking part and is out. Haven't delayed the start, though. I was expecting maybe a little bit of a delay start just because obviously other cars were making their way round to the grid as well, but ducked back into the pit lane because Oscar Piastri's car had come to a halt. So rest in peace, Oscar. Or sorry, Bosca, I should say. Yeah, Oscar. It's just, he just can't do anything in Australia. Last year was on for a podium, was doing so well, and then just followed Lando into the gravel and then couldn't quite collect it in the same way Lando did and put himself on the grass. And now we have, this time around, hasn't even made it to the grid and has put himself absolutely slam dunk into the wall. I'm going to keep saying slam now because of the Tim Tam slam, aren't I? It's in my head. Oh, thank you. It's Wilkes for the follow. Appreciate that. Oh, God, Mr. Pulse and Dan are both in the chat. One in the chat if you're in the Jork squad. Jesus Christ. I mean, hopefully, quite a few of you were over on the Crash Happy account just a few moments ago, and then have sauntered your way over here as that live stream has ended and this one has begun. I assume that live stream has ended. I've ended it on OBS, but I can't access both my YouTube and the Crash Happy account at the same time, so we're just kind of rolling the dice on the fact that that has ended officially. and is no longer just running in the background on the Crash Happy account. Let me just double check that we're live on the Shorts feed as well. We are indeed. Lovely stuff. Okay, let me just grab my stream. And I go straight into an advert. Is the way it is. Acknowledge the Jork Squad W. I am part of the Jork Squad as well, technically. I'm sort of a Jork CEO of kinds. The Crash Happy stream is still going. Oh, God. Oh, dear. Can someone turn it off? Pulse and Dan, you're literally in the chat. Could you click the end stream button on the Crash Happy account? Or is that too much to ask? Mr. V may have his shirt back on, but now James can take his off. I don't know. Mr. V's got an impressive build. He's been working on it. Feel like If I also, got into the gym like Mr. V has done, then maybe. But for today, not so sure. Shall we look at the qualifying grid as it stands? There we have it. Obviously, you take Oscar Piastri out of that. So, although George Russell, Antonelli, Hadjar, Leclerc starting 1, 2, 3, and 4, Oscar Piastri now ducks out. Lando Norris inherits 5th place, and everyone shuffles up a position. Just one less place for Max Verstappen to have to overtake on his saunter through the grid, starting towards the back of the pack. Although, where is Verstappen starting? 20th? Well, now 19th, I guess. So it'd be interesting to see what he can do from that position. We were talking over on Crash Happy about where you think Max Verstappen will be able to finish, even though he is starting that far down the grid. Obviously, now a McLaren out of the way, it's a little bit easier for him to maybe get up to those top-end places. He should be able to get through the majority of the midfield. It's when he gets past, if Lindblad and Lawson are still there, sort of behind the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton or behind that kind of chunk of top teams, is then can Verstappen break past sort of now the Hamilton-Norris barrier and get into any of those sort of higher scoring, point scoring places. Because I feel like he'll be able to get past the Cadillacs fairly easily. Alonso most likely won't even finish the race. And then we've got Colapinto, Albon, Gasly, also feels like fairly easy pickings at this point in the year. When it gets to sort of Haas and Audi is where I think it will get a little bit easier. Oh, sorry, a little bit trickier for Max Verstappen. A little bit easier for those guys to actually defend from Max Verstappen. And then, but I still feel like he'll get past Ocon, Behrman, Hulkenberg and Bortoletto, Lindblad and Lawson being in the second Red Bull team. Maybe won't put up, a huge fight against Max Verstappen, although they are not technically, allowed to just move out of the way of Max Verstappen as he makes his way through. But yeah, I feel like Hamilton, P6, how quickly Verstappen can get to P7 will kind of determine what his race looks like from that point. Prediction: Max overtakes the Cadillacs and Alonso in lap 1. Oh yeah. That's not a very out there prediction, I wouldn't say. I feel like the Cadillacs certainly, and Alonso's just going to move out of the way, no? Are they still... There was sort of the rumor going around that Aston Martin are going to have to retire the car after the formation lap anyway. So if that comes true, then Fernando Alonso will most certainly not be a problem for Max Verstappen going into the race. Again, though, I feel like Alonso unlikely to finish the Grand Prix, so I don't think he'll put up too much of a fight as Verstappen makes his way past. Colapinto's the first actual driver. Sorry, Cadillac, but Colapinto is the first actual driver that I feel like Verstappen might have to battle with even a little bit to be able to gain that position there. Then kind of making our way through. It's interesting, right? I feel like the midfield is almost upside down in terms of expectation versus reality. I think if you asked most people back in sort of December, January time, which I know is a couple of months ago now, but if you ask them which midfield teams are you feeling most confident about, it would have been probably Williams and Alpine, with Haas maybe in the middle. And then, which ones are you feeling less confident about? It would have been maybe RB and Audi, just because RB are having to use the Red Bull engine, and the Red Bull engine's obviously brand new, being a customer in that sense. And obviously there's only 2 teams that use that engine, so they don't have the ridiculous amount of data that maybe the Mercedes power unit cars have. We were all expecting the Mercedes power unit to be dominant, and therefore Alpine and Williams to kind of gain from that. So it is kind of in reverse. I was expecting Audi to be at the back, then maybe RB, Haas in the middle, and then Alpine and Williams to be the fastest of those kind of midfield 5. It's the complete opposite. Alpine, instead of being the fastest, the slowest by the looks of things, or at least in the mix with Alex Albon for slowest with Williams. So that Mercedes engine, although it seems overpowered in the Mercedes car, isn't helping Gasly, Albon and Colapinto too much over the course of this weekend. Then you've still got Haas in the middle, which is kind of where I expected them to be. Although during testing, they were looking very quick indeed. So I feel like Behrman and Ocon maybe would have expected one of them to be maybe knocking on the door of Q3 a little bit more so than they were. And certainly was not expecting Audi to be right up there. I know they've taken over the chassis side of things from Stake Sauber from last season, but they've still had to produce their own engine for the first time ever in Formula One. So the fact that Bortoleto and Hulkenberg, Bortoleto made it through to Q3 and Hulkenberg, the closest driver to it, is pretty impressive from the Audi setup. And the fact that they're there already, again, just sort of gives me real hope for the future when it comes to Audi. I was sort of saying yesterday, I quite like the idea of, getting on board with the Audi hype train now as they've kind of entered the sport. I suppose a lot of people are already on the Audi hype train before they even entered the sport, but I love Bortoleto. Hulkenberg's a great driver as well. I was sort of backing Bortoleto last year, even when it was Stake and still Sauber. So I feel like Audi becoming that sort of second team, that midfield team that I want to see do better. Definitely up there now. And then you've got Lindblad and Lawson both making their way through to Q3, the RB car and that Red Bull engine clearly clicking into gear for them and not having the maybe struggles that we were expecting to see between them getting that engine to work within their chassis. Just absolutely flew out of the gates. Lawson in particular looked really quick. Even in Q3, was quickest. Managed to find a little bit of time in Q3, not loads. Lindblad didn't. Managed to get to Q3, which is in itself on debut is amazing, but then didn't really put together a lap in Q3 that was worth talking about, to be honest. So very, very positive for the RB team, and getting points on the board early is, I feel, going to be so crucial for this season, because I do feel like it is going to be such a development race this season, particularly in that midfield pack. Obviously, we'd love to see a development race right at the top for those top four teams. But even last year, we saw that when that development can happen, and we had Stake Sauber being the quickest for a bit, Williams being the quickest for a bit, Albon getting P5, Sainz getting podiums. Then we had Hadjar kind of doing really well in the RB at points throughout the season. It can really change in terms of the midfield. So if the points are available to you now, you need to get them on the board, because they won't necessarily be available to you in the future. So I feel like that's why Lawson, Lindblad, the real point for them today is just make sure if you can get it to the end, you get it to the end, and just secure those points, because there are going to be cars behind them that are causing each other problems. There are going to be cars behind them that are falling by the wayside. They need a good launch is the problem as well. Behrman and Ocon obviously have the Ferrari engine, so their launch off the line has seemed to be a little bit better. Luckily, there's sort of Behrman luckily for RB, Behrman is kind of behind the two Audis anyway, so he's got to deal with Bortoleto and Hulkenberg first before he does get a run at Lindblad. But RB just needs to get those points on the board. And then jumping into the top end of the grid, Lewis Hamilton, kind of the slowest of those top 7 drivers, just didn't quite click for him in Q3, did it? There was a lot of positivity around Lewis Hamilton. Sort of Q1, coming out of free practice 3 in particular, just kind of waned a little bit as the session continued. And then Lando Norris P6, Oscar Piastri was P5, but as I say, Oscar Piastri with a mistake going around Q4 going around turn 4 as he was making his way to the grid. So spun into the wall on that kind of left-hand side as you exit turn 4, go across the track to enter turn 5, hit the wall on that left-hand side. So Piastri is out and is not at the not on the grid. And then we've got Leclerc, Hadjar. I feel like could be a really tasty little battle for third place there. If there's a battle I'm keeping my eye on in the first few laps, because Hadjar's got kind of bit between his teeth. He knows he's in that second Red Bull seat. He knows he's got a real opportunity to make almost a statement to the team. Podium on debut. The curse is lifted. Red Bull have found their second driver, etc., etc. He does have a really, really good chance of doing that. But Charles Leclerc, in a similar vein, you know, you go back to the end of last season, Charles Leclerc was throwing around things like, this is the last opportunity that Ferrari have got to really prove to them that he can finally get a championship winning car. He's talking about his future at Ferrari and whether or not he's going to stay there for the long term. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Leclerc and Ferrari to both deliver, and Ferrari in particular to sort of show Charles that they can deliver him a car which is worthy of him sort of sticking around to drive, because Charles Leclerc will be looking at the fact that Lando Norris has won a championship. George Russell maybe might win a championship this year as well. And for a lot of people, Charles Leclerc will, well, for most people, I would say, Charles Leclerc is definitely considered a better driver than Lando Norris. And even a lot of people have Charles Leclerc ranked above George Russell in terms of quality of driver. So Charles Leclerc is going to be looking at the drivers that are winning championships and the fact that he's in that generation and he's kind of slowly missing out on his opportunity, you know. Gone are the years of Lewis Hamilton winning championships. Then we kind of moved into the next generation with Max Verstappen. And now it's kind of that, the Verstappen era. You sort of look at when Verstappen made his debut versus when sort of George Russell, Alex Albon made their debut, that kind of chunk of drivers that came in then. So you Verstappens, you could even throw Stroll in there, but I know Stroll was a little bit before. Not that I think Stroll's going to win a championship anytime soon, but that kind of build of driver, your Albons, your Russells, your Lando Norrises, like all of those drivers that came in at similar-ish times and all sort of carted together and were that generation, they're now winning their championships, right? And Charles, if he doesn't get that championship, he might miss out, because then the next generation comes, you know. Does Behrman and Bortoletto and Antonelli start winning championships, and then Charles Leclerc has kind of missed his chance and becomes that driver that was very good in that generation and definitely of the caliber that could have won a championship, but never got the opportunity to do so. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Charles Leclerc this season to really deliver inside of that Ferrari car. And then we've got, as I say, Isaac Hadjar got that opportunity to deliver a podium on Red Bull debut. Big pressure there for him. And then Russell and Antonelli, are they too far clear? You know, was it just qualifying pace? We've seen cars before in the past that have had very, very good qualifying pace. Ferrari themselves a few years ago, they've had very, very good qualifying pace, but haven't been able to turn that into race pace. Are we going to see a similar kind of thing here? Maybe Mercedes has just qualified. I don't think so. I don't think it will be the case, but it could be the case. It should always be mentioned that we might not have just the season already done and dusted at this point. There could be a little turning point where something else happens and maybe Mercedes actually get put under pressure at some point. But we'll have to wait and see. What about Aston? No real news from Aston, to be honest. Like, obviously, all of the talking points around Aston have been pretty negative. Like, just not great in terms of where Aston Martin have been. But at the same time, I was going to say, like, there is positives, but there isn't, is there? There's no positives to take from Aston Martin's perspective. There is all negative, and everything they've been talking about is just so ridiculous. Like the fact that nobody from Aston Martin went to the Honda factory until November last year, which again, you know, I said this in a couple of videos and people were like, maybe it was just because Adrian Newey wanted to be team principal and maybe because they were shaking it up. They literally, last minute, dropped Andy Cowell as team principal and went, Andy, please just go and work with Honda and try and make this engine work. And it was in around about that time, right? It must have been in November that happened, because it was towards the end of the season, October, November time, that change happened where Adrian Newey took over as team principal. And it was clearly because someone at Aston Martin had finally gone to visit the Honda engine and realised there was no engine. there was nothing there. So it is just absolutely mental to me that nobody from Aston had kind of gone there, seen what problems were underway, and not even just pulled the plug, right? They could have just pulled the plug on the whole thing, Just like, actually, you know what? We're not going to be able to do this. We're not going to win races. Like, let's just go back to a Mercedes engine, go back to Mercedes, tail between our legs, and just ask for a Mercedes engine for the 2026 season. Now, there was probably a turning point where they could have done that, but they left it way too late, which is insane. Cadillac, what do I think about the rookie team? I think they've done everything they need to do. As much as it's, it's not incredible, ridiculous, getting through to Q3 or possibly points on the cards or anything like that on debut. They've done everything that they could. They've got a car. It works. It goes around the track. And, you're saying, well, yeah, surely that's the absolute bare minimum for a Formula One team. But it's not easy to do. Like, it's not easy to come into a new regulation cycle, have no experience of Formula One before, and make a car that actually works. And I know that we sort of talked about this on Crash Happy. We've sort of got Audi and Cadillac as sort of two sides of the coin in terms of a new team coming in. You've got Audi, who have kind of new team, yes, but they're only a new team really on the engine side of things. Like, they've particularly put their time and money and effort into building that engine, and they've kind of left Stake Sauber to do the chassis side of things, and they've kind of taken over from Stake and Sauber in terms of the aero and chassis side of things. Whereas on the flip side, Cadillac have taken an engine from Ferrari, so they've got that kind of nailed down. They don't need to worry about going into the engine side of things yet, although they've got GM coming in 2028, and they've just focused solely on the chassis side of things. And I think it just goes to show that those two parts have to go hand in hand, and it's not easy to get all of those things, working perfectly. Audi have done an incredible job, but I think Cadillac have also done a very good job too. I think Cadillac have done way better than expected. They haven't had as many absolutely horrendous moments that we were expecting. And, my stream has just melted itself. There we go. But yeah, the fact that Cadillac have come into this season a complete unknown is in my opinion, great. Like, the fact that they've done so well. Here we are then. We are on the grid lining up. Let me just double check. I've got all of the race stuff actually loaded. Oops. I haven't made the... There we go. I can hide the chat there. Race starts in like 1 minute. Yeah, I'm just getting everything loaded. My Now TV is now being annoying. There we go. There he is, George Russell, at the front of the pack. Will it be one pole position, one win for George Russell in 2026? I feel like if you had to put money on someone right now, it would make sense. Oscar can't race? No, Oscar is out, unfortunately. So, for fellow McLaren fans, Oscar Piastri, just a mistake coming out of turn 4. So, it's going to be an empty grid slot where Oscar Piastri should have been. So, technically, Lando Norris still starting 6th in terms of like where he is on the grid. Like, he's on the 6th place grid slot. But there is a gap in front of him that is completely and utterly free. Okay. Let me quickly just line up the track map. There we go. The formation lap has begun, and Lewis Hamilton took a little while to get away there, but did eventually. So, of the RBs, everyone is moving. Oh, I say everyone. Behrman and Ocon also just took a second to get their cars rolling. Gasly and Albon follow suit. Colapinto too. Alonso on softs. Yeah, actually. I haven't looked at the tyres yet. Yeah, Alonso starting on soft compound tyres feels aggressive, to say the least. Who else is starting on softs? Is that Stroll? No, Sainz. Sainz is starting on the the soft compound tyre as well. The medium seems to be the pick. All of the top 10 starting on the medium tyre. Well, now Hulkenberg's technically in the top 10 as well, starting on the hard compound tyre. But then Behrman, Ocon, Gasly also on the medium, Albon 2. The next hard compound tyre runner is Colapinto. And then you've got your Alonso and Perez. Alonso on the soft, Perez back on the medium. Bottas and Verstappen going for the hard compound tyre as well. So interesting that Hulkenberg, that sort of driver right in the middle of the pack on the hard compound tyre compared to the mediums all around him in front and behind. So Nico Hulkenberg needs to get those tyres warmed up as quickly as he possibly can. George Russell warming up his tyres as he's making his way through the final sector. And here we are then, round turn 13. The overtake boards there you can see. So it'll be interesting to see how that overtake mode works. Explain it a little bit more as we get into it. But an extra 0.5 megajoules of energy given to the cars that are within a second of the car ahead and are able to use that overtake button on their steering wheel. Have to wait and see if we actually do get some overtakes in some unexpected places. Sort of the most common overtaking points throughout the years, kind of been down towards turn 1, and maybe sort of in turn 9 and 11 sometimes as well. Well, turn 3 as well. Turn 3 is a fairly decent overtaking opportunity. But will we kind of see maybe an overtake in some weird and wonderful places here in the first Grand Prix of the 2026 season? Lance Stroll is going to be the final driver to take his grid slot. And the Aston Martins have not retired after the formation lap. So that little rumor that was going around has been seen to be a little bit false. How far they'll actually get through this Grand Prix, we'll have to wait and see. But the final Aston Martin car does take its place. The green flag is waved. And here we go then. Pre-start the blue panels so that the cars can get themselves and the turbo wound up. 5 red lights. And we're underway for the 2026 Formula One season. And it's a brilliant launch from Isaac Hadjar. Kimi Antonelli's got it all wrong. The Ferrari of Charles Leclerc also lightning quick, and Charles Leclerc has taken the lead. Lewis Hamilton absolutely blistering off the start as well, has got past Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc now leads this Australian Grand Prix. You have a new race leader, and George Russell's under pressure from Isaac Hadjar, and I think it's Liam Lawson behind as well. Absolutely going for it. No, it's Arvid Lindblad in 4th place, who has rocketed his way forward. Hamilton in 5th, Lando Norris in 6th. Antonelli has dropped all the way down to 7th place inside of his Mercedes car. Esteban Ocon, with a launch from the gods, has come up to 8th place too. Nico Hulkenberg with a problem has dropped all the way down. Bortoletto and Fernando Alonso is up into 10th place. At least by the statistics that I can see, is a rapid race start. Arvid Lindblad now making his way around, and Lindblad is going to take a podium place. Isaac Hadjar can't keep him behind, as Hadjar now fighting with Hamilton as well, going 3 abreast down towards turn 9. Turn 11. And Lindblad has used up all of his power by the looks of things, because Hamilton then manages to get his way past Lindblad. Hamilton is up into the podium places. We now have Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton, our top 3. Arvid Lindblad down to 4th place. Hadjar 5th. Lando Norris 6th. What an electric start to the 2026 season. That was absolutely brilliant. It was chaos, but brilliant. It was just insane start from Charles Leclerc. That Ferrari off the line is obscene. It just made everyone look like they were standing still. George Russell got it a little bit wrong. Kimi Antonelli got it very wrong. And Arvid Lindblad can take a bow as well. He used up a lot of his battery early, though. Has now conceded those places to Lewis Hamilton and Isaac Hadjar behind. But Lindblad, what a start to your rookie race. Goodness me. Liam Lawson, a nightmare. He was up in the point scoring places, down in 18th now. Antonelli's dropped to 7th. Ocon is up into 8th. Gasly is also up into the points for the Alpine. Fernando Alonso up into P10. It's absolute chaos at the start, but it has completely and utterly mixed up the order as George Russell now makes a move through turn 10 and gets the pace back. Is back up, and we have another new race leader. Is the man who started the race in the lead. George Russell once again takes to P1. And here we go then, because Charles Leclerc, now going through that overtake detection point, is going to have overtake for this lap. Let's see if Charles Leclerc can come back at George Russell. And if there is a fight between the two, has that little slipstream down towards turn 1, decides against any kind of move there. Arvid Lindblad is now under pressure from Lando Norris, who is also trying to keep Kimi Antonelli behind. Esteban Ocon is fighting for everything in that midfield pack as well, as Charles Leclerc does close into the back of George Russell. He's still within that second margin. Lewis Hamilton 2 seconds off the lead of this race now, so has dropped outside of DRS range at the moment. Here we go then. Charles Leclerc still keeping George Russell under pressure, keeping himself within that second range. And it just depends where he's going to use that extra 0.5 megajoules of energy. So the way that overtake works, as we're now going to see Charles Leclerc go for it, and he does go for it, and Charles Leclerc into turn 9 retakes the lead of this race. I was about to say Charles Leclerc at some point in this lap, as George Russell's going to come straight back at him, and they're side by side into turn 11, and Charles Leclerc manages to hold on to it. So the way that overtake works is the drivers have 8 megajoules of energy that they can use from their battery every single lap. But if you are within overtake range and you are a second behind the driver or less than a second behind the driver as you go through the overtake detection point, which is just between turn 13 and turn 14 here in Australia, you get an extra 0.5 megajoules of energy for that lap. You can use it wherever you want. You get access to the overtake button, which allows you to use that extra 0.5 megajoules of energy. And we're now seeing Lewis Hamilton closing in on the back of George Russell as well, because Charles Leclerc and George Russell have been battling and allowing Lewis Hamilton that opportunity to gain on the Mercedes and Ferrari ahead. We have got a real run for the lead here between these 3 cars. And now we've got Arvid Lindblad in 5th place as well, with Antonelli hounding him behind in 6th spot. Lando Norris has dropped to 7th place. Max Verstappen is also making his way through the midfield. He's up into 14th place. I was expecting to see Max Verstappen maybe a little bit higher at this point, to be honest, as we're 4 laps in. I've been just so engrossed by the battle at the front that I completely missed the fact that Max Verstappen is also making his way through the midfield and is now looking at trying to make an overtake on Alex Albon. Does indeed around turn 9, and Max Verstappen gets himself up into 13th place. Fernando Alonso, the next driver on the list. Gabriel Bortoleto is back up into the point scoring places, has been able to take that place from Fernando Alonso. Alonso, remember, was up into 10th place, now down into 12th once again, and the Audi of Bortoleto back into the point scoring places. But what an absolutely electric first 4 laps that we've had there, as Kimi Antonelli now looks to try and go around the side of Arvid Lindblad in towards turn 1 and gets that move done before they get to the apex. Kimi Antonelli back up into 5th place, and he'll be looking at the fact that Charles Leclerc has just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix and ruining that he isn't in that battle with his teammate George Russell. Max Verstappen makes easy work of Fernando Alonso, moves up into 12th spot. This is brilliant. I don't know. Whoever said the racing in 2026 is going to be rubbish, you could not have been more wrong. This is the most fun I have had at the start of a Formula One race for a good chunk of time. We're seeing real battles, proper overtaking, and we're seeing some now sort of settling in a little bit. It feels like George Russell has decided that maybe just harvesting some energy for a couple of laps would benefit him, because he's just slotted into that sort of half a second behind Charles Leclerc. Let's have a look at this race restart. They're finally showing a replay of it. Antonelli standing still, but Charles Leclerc's launch and Lewis Hamilton's launch is obscene. Charles Leclerc is miles ahead of George Russell going in towards turn one. Lewis Hamilton just gets a little bit unlucky that he's on the left-hand side of the track. Otherwise, that we could have seen a Ferrari 1-2. He was alongside George Russell, but then just kind of gets pinned by the Mercedes and then drops back a couple of places behind Hadjar and Lindblad. Hamilton now has made those positions back up again and is in P3. It was a Ferrari off the line. The acceleration is obscene. Yeah, big wheel spin from Kimi Antonelli, which opens the door to Charles Leclerc to get past him, but also then makes Hadjar and Russell look like they're standing still. Leclerc, wow. Lindblad gets a brilliant start as well. Lindblad has the benefit of the fact that he can run into a little bit of clean air. Obviously, with Oscar Piastri not on the grid, he gets a really good launch and then kind of has the track in front of him to run into, so he can pick his braking point quite nicely for turn one. Doesn't have to worry about getting pinned down by anybody else. Kimi Antonelli has just made his move on Isaac Hadjar towards turn 9 and gets that move done. Antonelli up into 4th place. We now look at the battle for the lead once again as George Russell has closed it to within a 10th. Charles Leclerc defending in the Ferrari, and they're side by side once again in 11. Charles Leclerc gets it done. Round turn 13 and 14 they go to start lap 7 of this Grand Prix. We've still got so long to go. Fernando Alonso dropping like a stone, by the way, in the Aston Martin car. Franco Colapinto now taking him over for 15th place. Alonso down to 16th. Liam Lawson in 17th. Perez and Bottas 18th and 19th place. What a brilliant race we have here. George Russell on the radio. Dangerous by Leclerc, especially from what we spoke about in briefing. So George Russell complaining about the defensive maneuvers of the Ferrari ahead of him. Hamilton has just dropped off a little bit here. I don't know whether Hamilton is thinking, actually, shall I just hold on to my tyres that little bit more? Hold on to that rubber just for that little bit longer? Hamilton absolutely flying around the track now, though. Antonelli in 4th spot. Isaac Hadjar 5th. George Russell on board with him. Through turn 10 he goes. Straight mode activated. You can see the front wing flap dip down. It's so cool. It is just so cool. Like, I know that these cars are super futuristic now. I know that there's a lot happening and the drivers have complained that they're very difficult to drive. But they do look so cool. Like, the aesthetic of them is just... This is what a Formula 1 car should look like, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It does look like a car from the future. And the fact that like the wings move in duality, like the front wing drips down, the back wing flips up. Like we could even see that Ferrari rear wing in the future do the full 180 like we saw in testing. And here comes George Russell. He's using that overtake mode. He's got alongside Charles Leclerc down towards turn 3. They're going to be side by side. George Russell beats him to the apex and Charles Leclerc can't defend from that. Through turn 4 they go and George Russell retakes the lead of this race. And we've got a real tete-a-tete here between George Russell and Charles Leclerc as Leclerc's coming back at him straight away. He knows that he's used that extra bit of battery now to try and get past him at turn 3. Charles Leclerc might have held a little bit of battery back that he can use down this straight towards turn 9. Here we go then. Charles Leclerc gets side by side with George Russell towards turn 9. And it's round the outside he goes and Charles Leclerc retakes the lead. Leclerc back up into P1. George Russell into P2 once again. And lap 8. Oh, and here he comes. Oh, a little bit of a look from George Russell there. Thought we were going to get another move. Already the lead changed twice on lap 8 of this Grand Prix. George Russell thinking about making it 3 times, but decides against it for now. Lando Norris now closing into the back of Arvid Lindblad as well. The McLaren starting to click into gear for Lando Norris. And here we go then. George Russell down towards turn 1. Oh, it is a big lock-up from George Russell. Is he going to go wide at turn 1? He just about holds on to it, but Charles Leclerc is going to be able to get back at him. It was a huge lock-up from George Russell there. It's cost Charles Leclerc and George Russell quite a lot of time, which has allowed Lewis Hamilton a little sneaky peek at whether or not he can get himself into this battle. Hamilton has a look around the outside of turn 4, but not able to do it. George Russell closes the door now. And Lewis Hamilton is now going to be within that overtake mode. I was going to say DRS range. I need to change the vocabulary this year. The overtake button is going to be available to Lewis Hamilton if he stays within this 1/10 of a second, 1 second, 8/10 of a second that he is currently behind George Russell. And George Russell would have had a little bit of a heart attack there, especially considering what he saw from Max Verstappen yesterday in qualifying, where we know that those rear ends can just completely and utterly lock up. Oh, and Franco Colapinto has a stop and go penalty for the starting procedure infringement. So stop and go penalty for Franco Colapinto. It's not going to affect the race too much. He's down in 15th place at the moment. But yeah, that would have been getting the heart of George Russell racing, I would imagine, inside of that Mercedes car. They come down towards turn 1 again. Let's see if George Russell is quite as brave this time around. There's a little bit more of a gap between him and Leclerc this time. Hamilton now, though, will have overtake mode available to him as well. So Russell and Hamilton will now have that extra half a megajoule of energy. And Kimi Antonelli is also catching up on this trio. Now that we've seen the back and forth between them, this is the problem with also the lead changing around so much. It does allow those cars behind, just especially Antonelli, who's been in a little bit of clean air, that opportunity to start catching up with the rest of this trio. And we do have a proper Mercedes-Ferrari battle for the lead of this Grand Prix, and possibly a Mercedes-Ferrari battle for the championship. That would be an absolutely lovely thing throughout this 2026 season. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're only lap 10 in, and I'm starting to believe that in Abu Dhabi we're going to have a 4-way championship battle. But that's just me. Isaac Hadjar is then 6 seconds adrift of the lead. He's in 5th place. Arvid Lindblad a 1.5 seconds down in 6th spot. Lando Norris starting to try and put the racing bull under pressure a little bit more so, and using that overtake mode where he can. Esteban Ocon then, little bit of a gap down to 8th place. Pierre Gasly, though, looking very solid indeed. And Max Verstappen has made his way up into the point-scoring places and is now looking at a move on Pierre Gasly. And Max Verstappen, as I say that, moves up into 9th place. A stunning little maneuver from Max Verstappen. I feel like I'm going to have to just go back and watch Max Verstappen's perspective of these first 12 laps, because I've been so engrossed with the battle at the front. But Verstappen has been absolutely sauntering through the midfield. And the overtakes that he would have been putting in, I'm sure, have been absolutely sublime. George Russell on the radio saying that he's now struggling with the tyres. I mean, he did have that huge lockup, to be fair to him. So George Russell, definitely understandable. They'll start to struggle, particularly with those front left and rear left tyres after that big lockup. Hamilton hasn't put Russell under as much pressure as I was expecting. I suppose Russell is also within DRS range. Oh, is what's happened to Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar's going very slowly indeed, and it's gone from a possible podium place to an Isaac Hadjar DNF. As Isaac Hadjar is going to come to a stop. He is running down towards turn 9, and that looks like an engine that is all over and done with. And Isaac Hadjar is going to retire from the 2nd Australian Grand Prix in a row. Isaac Hadjar and a virtual safety car whilst they move Isaac Hadjar's car. To be fair, he has come to a stop in a very good place. There's kind of a gap in the wall there on the left-hand side as you run down towards turn 9, as Lando Norris is going to come in and stop under the virtual safety car conditions. Esteban Ocon follows him in as well. So does Pierre Gasly. So those cars just in the sort of rear end of the points there, dropping in. Alex Albon making his way past and into P9. As Lando Norris going to come out then. Does come out behind Albon. Giving myself hiccups because I've been screaming. Sainz P13. Lawson now coming in as well. Fernando Alonso coming in 2. Lance Stroll also deciding to pit at this point. So everyone deciding to take the virtual safety car opportunity as maybe an opportunity to also gain an advantage. And it looks like an engine failure. Lots of smoke coming out of the back of Isaac Hadjar's Red Bull car. Virtual safety car, of course, means that you are given a delta that you have to stick to. So George Russell, about 1.5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc, has to try and stick 1.5 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton is within a second of George Russell, though. Kimi Antonelli, as I said, has also caught up to the back of that pack. And it is 2 DNFs from 2 for Isaac Hadjar. This one very different to last, though. Last year, didn't manage to make it to the actual start of the Grand Prix. This year, it was looking good. Good start from Isaac Hadjar. Clearly, the Red Bull just didn't quite have the pace of the Ferrari and the Mercedes cars. But, yeah, the onboard is pretty clear and concise that Red Bull car was not going to run for much longer. You just hear it completely and utterly clonk out. And, and whilst we were watching that replay, George Russell and Kimi Antonelli have also decided to pit under the virtual safety car conditions. The 2 Ferraris have continued out, though. George Russell is actually going to come out still in 3rd place, which is a very nice place to be for George Russell at this point. Antonelli is going to come out just behind Arvid Lindblad. Antonelli's been able to get past him once. I'm sure we'll get past him again. Max Verstappen now up into P6 after all of that. But of course, keep an eye on those pit stops because it does not mean necessarily that Max Verstappen is running at P6. He will have to stop at some point. Lewis Hamilton on the radio. And Hamilton saying what I was kind of thinking. At least one of us should have come in. Why haven't they decided to split the strategy there with the Ferrari cars? Maybe it just depends how quickly they can get Isaac Hadjar out of the way. That Red Bull car is still being pushed by the marshals and isn't going anywhere too quickly by the looks of things. Like, you know, the Formula One cars are light in terms of, you know, racing cars, but they're pretty heavy when you're having to move it across the grass there. So I can understand the marshals having a little bit of a struggle. There's 4 or 5 of them now pushing that Isaac Hadjar car off of the racetrack. They have got an opportunity here, though, Ferrari. If Lewis Hamilton does want to decide to come in now, and he doesn't. Ferrari were there, though. Ferrari were there with the tyres. Maybe they're bargaining on Isaac Hadjar's car taking another lap or so to get out of the way. Of course, the virtual safety car can just come to an end like that. There's no guarantee, you know, and there it is. Virtual safety car is indeed ending. So they have decided to lock that in. Valtteri Bottas, the final car to come into the pits then for Cadillac. And Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton both opting against stopping under the virtual safety car conditions. George Russell did, remember, he's in 3rd place and now got a lovely little bit of clean air to run into as well. George Russell is now a good 10 seconds behind, but has got that time, can just run into that clean air. And we've seen the qualifying laps that he's able to put in yesterday. If he's able to put in qualifying style laps now during the Grand Prix, he'll be on the back of those Ferraris sooner rather than later. Arvid Lindblad is now running in 4th spot for Racing Bulls. He looks like an absolute gem of a talent, doesn't he? Coming into that Racing Bulls seat, his first race in Formula One. Start was brilliant. He's been battling with the cars that are well above his weight. You know, he's fully punching above his average. And Kimi Antonelli then has pitted and come out in P5. And Fernando Alonso has been told to stop the car. We have an issue. So Fernando Alonso has peeled into the pits. And there he is, Fernando Alonso. And that's the end of Aston Martin's race. I mean, they did 14 more laps than I was expecting. And let's check if Fernando Alonso still got all of his teeth intact. But more impressive than I was expecting from the Aston Martin car, which DNF had turned at lap 14 is maybe not the compliment that they would have wanted from me. But that is the 4th retirement from the race. Nico Hülkenberg with a problem at the start completely kind of got washed over by the fact that we were just watching a crazy amount of overtakes as Lando Norris makes one of his own. But yeah, we saw that Nico Hülkenberg had to come to a stop very early on. Piastri obviously didn't make it to the grid. Hadjar then causing that virtual safety car, and now Fernando Alonso joining the graveyard of cars that has become the pit lane. There is now 4 cars retired from this Grand Prix. 18, though, still to run with 22 cars on the grid for this 2026 season. And I don't know about you guys. I'm going to say it again. That was an amazing start to the Grand Prix. Now let's see if we can get a little bit of a strategy battle between Leclerc, Hamilton, and Russell. Hamilton being told, Russell 10 seconds behind, and Hamilton saying on the radio, how is it only 10 seconds? Because the virtual safety car obviously gives you that benefit. Hamilton deciding to stick with that one-stop strategy, though, maybe. So Russell probably will have to stop again. Kimi Antonelli now putting Lindblad under pressure. Has that overtake button available to him? Will he use it down towards turn 1? Even if he's not using the overtake button, he's still going to go for the overtake. Gets toward the apex. And Kimi Antonelli makes it stick back up into 4th place. And again, we have 2 Ferraris and 2 Mercedes at the top end of the grid. Liam Lawson now battling with Sergio Perez. Those two never really got on when they were on the grid with one another a couple of years ago. Let's see if they can be a little bit more tidy between the two of them battling for 14th place this time around. Charles Leclerc also being told over the radio that Ferrari are indeed going for Plan A. Plan A for Charles Leclerc. George Russell, though, sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far. Is now 8.8 seconds adrift of Lewis Hamilton. This is what I mean by if he can get some of those qualifying laps in, he will be absolutely flying around this track. Oh my goodness me. Little bit of a scrap between Lindblad and Verstappen we're also starting to see. Lindblad clearly not playing the taking the knee to the Red Bull #1 at this point. He wants as good a finish as possible in his first rookie race. He is not letting Max Verstappen by that easily. Verstappen now closing into the back within a second of Lindblad, so we'll have overtake available to him. It'd be good if there was a graphic that like told you which drivers were within overtake range. I suppose it's similar to DRS. You just look and if they're within a second, but they have to be within a second at that point on the track. And I'd like some kind of highlight, I would say, to like just say like which drivers have overtake mode available to them on that lap. Because it's a little bit harder to keep track of compared to the DRS zones. Because DRS was like, okay, they have overtake, well, they have DRS, and the DRS detection point and the DRS activation point were within like 10 meters of each other. Whereas this is a little bit different. So obviously you get the overtake and the boost, and they're slightly different. And Lindblad and Verstappen going around. Verstappen still within a second, but hasn't actually put Lindblad under too much pressure. It's got a little bit more battery to be used this lap, has Max Verstappen. Is maybe just charging up a little bit more for an attacking maneuver next lap instead. It's Hamilton and Leclerc start lap 18 of the Grand Prix. There comes George Russell, now 7.3 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Antonelli, 6.9 seconds behind. Both of the Mercedes car opting for the hard compound tyre as well. Verstappen now using his overtake mode down towards turn 1. And not able to do it this time around. Oh no, he's not using his overtake mode. Oh, there's the graphic that tells you he can use overtake mode. It's all very complicated. We'll get used to it. But Max Verstappen now has overtake mode available to him. But we don't know when he's going to use that overtake mode. As we see Lawson and Perez. As I say, those two not massive fans of one another. And Sergio Perez pushing Liam Lawson a little bit closer into the gravel than he would have liked. And then Liam Lawson getting back past him. There's no love lost between Lawson and Perez, is there? Oh, as Valtteri Bottas has come to a stop. Just on the entrance to the pit lane as well. That is very frustrating indeed. So close to getting into the pits there, Valtteri Bottas, but his Cadillac has come to a stop and he joins the graveyard. Chuck another one in there. 5th driver to DNF from this Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas has come to a stop. Again, his car is in a fairly decent place though, so they should be able to push that out of the way fairly quickly. Is Bottas going to get out of the car? I was hoping he'd kind of maybe stay in the car so that he could guide it a little bit easier. But and then box indeed, as Lindblad comes into the pits. Verstappen comes into the pits now then. The second virtual safety car, and Verstappen was right under the rear wing of Arvid Lindblad. Red Bull going for an overtake in the pits. There comes Lindblad, and he wasn't able to do it. Had to hold Verstappen just for a second there. Let him out in front of Ollie Behrman, though. So Lindblad, Verstappen, Behrman, Bortoletto all pit from inside of the point-scoring places and come back outside into the point-scoring places. Although Bortoletto, has just dropped behind Ocon and Gasly. I thought he might get out of the pits just ahead of that duo. But that's a little bit frustrating for Bortoletto. He's dropped behind those two. And here we are then. Ferrari still haven't come into the pits, have they? Will they do it this time around? Sergio Perez has come into the pits for Cadillac. Ferrari still opting not to. They were a little bit too far ahead of the pit entry. So they're coming around now. Lance Stroll is actually about to be lapped, it looks like, by Leclerc and Hamilton. Oh, the pit lane entry is closed. Ferrari going to have to go around again. Oh. I mean, they had to close it so they could get the marshals out there to push Valtteri Bottas's car out of the way. But obviously, Lindblad and Verstappen and those guys got in before the pit lane was closed. And then as Ferrari were literally coming around turn 13, they closed the pit lane. And Bottas has come to a stop. He was told to stop immediately by the Cadillac team. That's why he came to a stop there then. They were like, please stop. Please stop, Valtteri. Don't do it. We need you to stop right bloody now. And the virtual safety car is ending, and Max Verstappen's going to have a look straight away. Arvid Lindblad peels into the inside, tries to cover off Max Verstappen, and does so. Lindblad holds onto the position. Max Verstappen, though, onto the softer medium compound tyre. And Lindblad, in his first Grand Prix with a 4-time world champion stuck under his rear wing, is really holding his own. I'm going to be honest, very, very, very impressed by Arvid Lindblad. And Red Bull, unfortunately, just can't get on the radio to their sister team anymore and ask Lindblad to get out of the way. Max Verstappen's going to have to do it the hard way. Max Verstappen clearly using that overtake mode. You can hear the engine working that little bit more. Goes to the right-hand side, down towards turn 9. He's going to get that move done. Into turn 9. Verstappen finally gets past the Racing Bull. And Verstappen up into 6th place in this Grand Prix. The gap to Lando Norris ahead, 5.5 seconds. Although Norris kind of in a little bit of a no man's land, to be honest, because Norris is then 12 seconds adrift of Kimi Antonelli. Hamilton on the radio. Hamilton, my tyres are still okay. Do not box me the same time. So Hamilton does not want to be boxed at the same time as Charles Leclerc. He wants to go that little bit longer than his teammate Hamilton, maybe with an eye on a win here. Charles Leclerc, though, does seem the more comfortable of the two Ferrari drivers, and they've still got to deal with the two Mercedes cars who have been closing in behind them. George Russell now 5.8 seconds adrift. Kimi Antonelli 6.4. The lap times are quicker inside of those Mercedes cars. A 122.7. The best lap from... and Esteban Ocon goes for a move, and Gasly. Very close between the two ex-Alpine teammates. Gasly still there. Ocon now in a Haas, and Gasly comes out of the better two right now. He's up into 10th place, but it got very tasty between the two of them. Here we go then. I'm just trying to see. So George Russell, his best lap, a 122.7. The best lap from Charles Leclerc, a 123.3. So Russell is able to make up almost, 4-5 tenths of a second per lap if he really is able to rattle around in that Mercedes car. We know that's the gap in terms of qualifying pace from yesterday. So if they can keep on moving in that way, and George Russell sets another fastest lap, now a 1:22.6. That gap now down to 5.2 seconds between Hamilton and Russell. Remember, though, the Ferrari's yet to have pitted. I feel like George Russell probably will have to pit again. It's very early to go onto those hard compound tyres, and it's not like he's being conservative on those hard compound tyres either. He's absolutely rinsing them, is George Russell. Antonelli, 1.5 seconds behind his teammate. Now a big gap to Lando Norris. Lando Norris just isn't able to live with the pace of the Mercedes cars this weekend. Clearly, all the Ferrari cars ahead. It's very clear that we've got a top two there. And we don't know. Maybe Max Verstappen would have been able to hold on to their coattails a little bit more, or even Isaac Hadjar. We didn't truly get to see what Hadjar and Verstappen were capable of. Hadjar because he is now out of the Grand Prix, and Verstappen because he started all the way down at the back of the pack. And starting to get a little bit messy as Sergio Perez running around in the Cadillac is now being overtaken and lapped. So Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez already having been lapped, only 23 laps into the Grand Prix, and we've had 2 virtual safety cars in that. Cadillac looking slow. The word is slow. I was trying to find a nicer way of putting it. Cadillac looking slow with Sergio Perez, unfortunately. But again, still running at this point. I think that's the main positive that they can take away. Valtteri Bottas, not so. But still one Cadillac car running around. And now being caught up by George Russell. We'll move out of the way of the Mercedes as soon as he gets to within touching distance, though. Here we are, then. Charles Leclerc coming around the final couple of corners. Does he pit this time around? No. Still going. We are getting closer and closer to that midpoint of the Grand Prix. 29 laps, of course, will be the turning point between the first half of the Grand Prix, the second half of the Grand Prix. So would be that sort of perfect moment to pit, really. Split the Grand Prix in half. A one-stop strategy is there for you, but maybe they'll go that a little bit longer. Of course, you get less fuel as the cars continue on. Cars get lighter, a little bit easier to drive, a little bit less weight that the tyres have to pull around the track. Kimi Antonelli now sets the fastest lap of anybody. George Russell, 3.6 seconds. Kimi Antonelli then 6 seconds back from that, but both of the Mercedes cars really putting in the laps now. Does feel like there's going to be a split in the strategy, though. Ferrari definitely going for the one-stop. Mercedes, a two-stop strategy for them feels most likely. It's just whether or not there's another opportunity with a kind of virtual safety car or that kind of ilk. Oh, and an incident involving Ocon and Gasly. That incident is being looked at. I mean, it was tasty, to say the least. So, makes sense that the stewards are having a little look at that one. What did Hulkenberg do? Just didn't even really start, to be honest, did Hulkenberg. Problem in his Audi car. Retired him from the race very, very early on indeed. Lance Stroll trundling around. Yeah, continuing to go. To be fair, they've got to that 25 lap limit that Fernando Alonso was talking about. Alonso said that if he drove the Aston Martin car for more than 25 laps, it might give him nerve damage. Lance Stroll, clearly immune. Or maybe they've been able to fix that Aston Martin car just that little bit. Yeah, this is the replay of the Gasly moment. If you didn't see it, it was tasty. Gasly went very deep, maybe even contact between Gasly and Ocon there. Yeah, definitely contact between Gasly and Ocon there. You can see his front wing has taken the brunt of it. I think Gasly's kind of to fault, though, to be honest. As Charles Leclerc gets the box call, lap 25 of this Grand Prix. And Charles Leclerc just coming around turn 11 now, in towards turn 12, so he's in that final sector. Has the box call over the radio. Will he come in right now. Lewis Hamilton, 2.2 seconds adrift of his teammate, and Charles Leclerc does come in. I thought he wasn't going to come in for a second there. Quite a long pit entry. There you go. Speed limit line is there. Drops to the 80 kilometers per hour. Lewis Hamilton takes the lead. George Russell makes his way past as well. Onto the hard compound tyre. Yes, of course, it's a one-stop strategy, but they have given a little bit of race time away as Antonelli also makes his way past. Let's see where Charles Leclerc comes out in all of this then. It's probably going to be 6 seconds, 7 seconds behind Antonelli. 7 seconds. 7 seconds. Fernando Alonso has rejoined the race. What's happened there then? Fernando Alonso has decided that he's had enough of sitting in the garage, back onto the Grand Prix track. Like Aston Martin literally using this as a practice session at this point. They pulled him in, made a few changes to the car, asked if Fernando Alonso's hands were okay, back out again. Wow. Okay. Alonso, still a couple of laps down on Bottas? And then, many a lap down on the race lead. 11 laps down? 10 laps down? Just trying to see now. I don't know if my counter goes that high. He's a lot of laps down, is Fernando Alonso. But he is back out on track. Lewis Hamilton then leading this Grand Prix. And doesn't pit either. Going for another lap. George Russell now right underneath the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton under pressure from George Russell. Charles Leclerc has just caught up to the back of Sergio Perez. George Russell did pit on lap 12 though, so has already done 14 laps on these hard compound tyres, whereas Lewis Hamilton yet to pit in this Grand Prix. Will George Russell be able to go to the end on those hards? I don't think so. Depends how harsh these tyres or these cars are on their tyres, really. You haven't got full race running. This is the first opportunity we're getting to see these 2026 cars rattle around this Melbourne circuit at race pace. So, no idea how many laps they're going to be really capable of on those tyres. Hamilton, though, is now within overtake range of George Russell. He's going to have that extra half a megajoule of energy that he's able to deploy over the course of the laps behind Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton coming in? No, continues on. Hamilton will lead the race going into lap 28 of this Australian Grand Prix. Hamilton down towards turn 1. George Russell just behind him. Antonelli, though, 7.7 seconds behind. George Russell has been absolutely flying in that Mercedes car. Antonelli has put in sort of laps here and there that have been noteworthy, but George Russell, just the consistency from the Brit, really starting to pay dividends for him now. George Russell closing into the back of that Ferrari, using that extra overtake boost that he has got, the fresh tyres as well, and surely is going to be able to dispatch Lewis Hamilton here as they go down towards turn 9. Feel like he's going to make the move, comes to the inside line. Lewis Hamilton is not going to be able to stick. And the stickier rubber of George Russell's tyres through turn 9 and turn 10 he goes and retakes the lead of this Grand Prix. Our pole sitter is back in P1, 28 laps into this Grand Prix. And Sergio Perez has been given a little finger wag for ignoring blue flags. And now Lewis Hamilton surely is going to come in and does pit eventually. So Hamilton into the pits then, down to 80 kilometers an hour, as late as they possibly can do as they come into the pits. The Ferrari pit garage as well, a little bit down the pit lane after doing fairly decent last year in terms of the constructor standings. Not where they would have wanted to be, but fairly decent nonetheless. Lewis Hamilton into the pits. Charles Leclerc, his teammate, makes his way past, and Hamilton comes out then. 3 or 4 seconds behind his teammate, most likely. Russell on the radio. thinks the one stop is viable. So George Russell thinks he might be able to go all the way to the end here on those hard compound tyres. It'd be a hell of a stint if he's able to do it. On board with Ollie Behrman as he's now looking at the back of Arvid Lindblad. Lindblad dispatched by Max Verstappen eventually, and Verstappen now closing into the back of Lando Norris, but Lindblad is 9 seconds adrift of the other Red Bull car. Ollie Behrman in 8th place within overtake range. And Gabriel Bortoleto and Pierre Gasly, the other 2 drivers, running inside of the point-scoring places, although wouldn't be surprised if Gasly does pick up a little penalty for that knock with Esteban Ocon. It's definitely one where I could see the stewards giving something. Sainz and Albon then 12th and 13th at the moment. The 2 Williams cars would have been hoping for a lot more coming into this 2026 season. Lawson down in 14th place. Colapinto 15th. Perez in 16th. Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso running around in 17th and 18th place for Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso 10 laps down on his teammate after coming into the pits and then deciding to rejoin the race again. Bottas, Hadjar, Piastri and Hülkenberg out of the Grand Prix. Is a little rundown of the running order as Albon then overtakes his teammate to go up into 12th spot. So the Williamses having a little battle between themselves as to who is the faster Williams in this 2026 season. I feel like it's going to be quite an interesting little battle between those two over this year. Sainz really came to the fore at the end of last season, but Albon was so strong at the beginning of last season. That Williams car allows them to have a little bit of a battle, and the Williams team seem to be allowing them to have a little bit of a battle because Carlos Sainz is coming back at his teammate as they go down towards turn 3. He's a minute behind the race lead, though. You look at where Albon and Sainz are compared to where George Russell is now coming through turn 1. Ooh. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton then. Looking at their lap times, Hamilton actually a little bit further back from Leclerc than I was expecting him to be. 6.6 seconds, the gap between Hamilton and Leclerc. Antonelli is also 6 seconds behind his teammate. So the lead of this race, unfortunately, after the electric start that we had in the first sort of 11 or 12 laps, has sort of elongated itself a touch here. Ferrari going for a very different strategy to the 2 Mercedes cars. Hopefully allowing that strategy decision to sort of converge at the end of the Grand Prix so we get a little bit of a photo finish maybe between Russell, Antonelli, Leclerc and Hamilton for the podium places and the victory in this Grand Prix. Lando Norris then looks a little bit closer now that the 2 Ferrari cars have stopped, but again, it feels like Lando Norris will probably have to stop again. Stopped a lap before George Russell did, Lando Norris, so has done 19 laps on those hard compound tyres. Although George Russell was saying he probably will be able to get to the end of the race, so maybe Lando Norris will get to the end of the race on those tyres. Max Verstappen on a medium set of tyres behind him. And of course, this was the championship battle last year. At the end of the 2025 season, Lando Norris coming out just ahead of Max Verstappen as he is now. But Max Verstappen is closing into the rear wing of that McLaren car in this first race here in 2026. Arvid Lindblad, Ollie Behrman, Gabriel Bortoleto and Pierre Gasly, the 4 cars still inside of the point scoring places from the midfield. Ferrari really stepped up their game. Not in terms of strategies, by the looks of things. No, we'll see. It will definitely converge towards the end of the Grand Prix, but it does feel like not stopping one of the cars. Like, just as Lewis Hamilton kind of said over the radio, like, just splitting the strategy there between Leclerc and Hamilton, doing something a little bit different, just covers both bases, right? Because I think the Mercedes car is still the quickest. You know, you look at qualifying yesterday and you look at some of the laps that George Russell has been able to put in like the clean air. They are still quicker than the Ferrari car, just in terms of out and out pace. So I feel like the Ferrari needed to almost mix it up a little bit and cover both bases. But They left Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton out during both of those virtual safety cars. Well, they didn't have a choice for the second virtual safety car, but they left Leclerc and Hamilton out during that first safety car. And Hamilton then went very long on that first stint of tyres. Only done 3 laps on the hard compound tyres that he's done now. Lando Norris and Max Verstappen getting closer and closer to one another, though. Verstappen now 1.5 seconds behind Lando Norris. And Antonelli, not quite in the same mindset as his teammate George Russell. Kimi Antonelli, when asked over the radio if he's able to get to the end on these hard compound tyres, says that would be a brave decision for the team to make. Ocon and Gasly, no further action for that incident between those two. I mean, it was only a little tap, and to be fair, Gasly, although Gasly's now ahead of Ocon, and Gasly kind of came out of it a little bit worse for wear. Lando Norris on the radio. And Lando Norris not very happy with his tyres, being asked, could you do 26 laps on a medium? And Lando Norris saying, absolutely not. They seem to have been destroyed in 10, in his opinion. As we're watching Max Verstappen close in on Lando Norris, and the final McLaren car of this Grand Prix weekend probably getting overtaken fairly soon, could I ask for people to drop a like on the stream? That'd be absolutely amazing. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're aiming for 200,000 subscribers by the end of this season. So it'd be absolutely incredible if you could hit that subscribe button and the like button. It really does help out the stream, just kind of gets it out to more people. And also, whilst you're here, could you also head over to Crash Happy and subscribe on Crash Happy as well? It's a podcast. It's me, Mr. V, Dan No Skill, Mr. Pulse, Formula Duck. We all are kind of in there. A mixture of the 5 of us throughout various different weeks. There's a podcast every week. We also do extra uploads. There's shorts. There's now pre-race chats as well. It is a lot of fun over there on the Crash Happy channel. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done as like a person, let alone a YouTuber, streamer, everything that else that comes along with this. Like, if you could head over there, that'd be amazing. Virtual safety car that I missed whilst I was quickly doing the plugs and changing some things around. What's happened here then? I think it's going to end fairly quickly. A little bit of Sergio Perez's car has decided that it does not want to carry on racing. That's quite a big piece of Sergio Perez's car, actually, of Crash Happy on Spotify. Of course. It is here, there, and everywhere. Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon decided to try and pit whilst the virtual safety car was still in play, but virtual safety car has now ended. So it's 3 virtual safety cars. And Max Verstappen is right under the rear wing of Lando Norris. Straight within overtaking opportunity now. Coming through the final couple of corners. And that overtake barrier, so where you have to be within a second, is there. And Lando Norris boxes rather than battling with Max Verstappen. Maybe he's just given up the ghost there. Lando Norris deciding that those tyres are not going to be able to hold off Max Verstappen. And maybe a fresh set of tyres would be the better choice. Arvid Lindblad is just coming around turn 14. Lando Norris has come to a stop. It's going to be very tight. I think Norris will come out behind Lindblad and Behrman. Then Sergio Perez is the next car in the list, which should come out ahead of Sergio Perez for definite. Yeah, it does. Okay, yeah. Oh, actually, quite a little bit behind Lindblad and Behrman. Thought it might be a bit closer than that. But Norris now back out into 8th place. Max Verstappen takes 5th. And we're still looking at George Russell leading this Grand Prix. The problem that a lot of the front runners have now got, Leclerc and Hamilton are having to deal with a lot of traffic here. There's Colapinto, Lawson, Sainz, all in the way of where Lewis Hamilton would like to be. And George Russell continues on. And Ferrari don't quite look like they're going to be able to do what they were hoping to do here. Of course, George Russell might stop again. He has said that he's probably capable of going to the end on these hard compound tyres. And if he does, I feel like it's going to be a fairly comfortable victory. I think Ferrari were hoping there was going to have to be a 2-stop. But Mercedes could be a gamble. Don't know, these tyres could completely drop off a cliff. They are a brand new tyre compound that we have for this season. Of course, based on the Pirellis of previous years, but the tyres are a completely new dimension. So they are completely new to how these tyres really run over a race distance. Of course, they will have seen during testing and during free practice this weekend, but it's all guesswork until you've done it fully. Ferrari strategy was bad? Possibly. We'll have to wait and see. It depends whether or not Russell has to pit again. If Russell has to pit again, then it's played out exactly how Ferrari expected. If Russell doesn't have to pit again and is able to sort of use the 15-second gap that he's got, what is it, 15.8 seconds, so really 16-second gap that he's got to Charles Leclerc to just run to the end of this Grand Prix, then it does look a little bit silly from the two Ferrari cars to not as I say, just have one of them go for that different strategy. Leclerc can't catch up? Not at the moment, no. He has finally sort of gotten rid of all of that backmarkeriness. Hamilton is still making his ways. Hamilton's passed Sainz, but still has got Lawson and Colapinto ahead of him. So Leclerc's lap times will get a little bit better now, but even so, you look at it, Charles Leclerc's last lap was a 1:24.3. George Russell's a 1:22.7. So Charles Leclerc is not catching up and in fact is falling backwards at this point. Where's Alonso's car on the track map? Should be on there, unless he's come to a stop again. I think Alonso might have stopped again. Yeah, he's in the pits. So is Lance Stroll. So both the Aston Martins have come into the pits once again. But Lord only knows. They might come back out again. We'll have to wait and see. Stroll is retiring. I mean, we thought Fernando Alonso had retired and then the Aston Martin came back to life again. So we'll have to wait and see. Genuinely, no idea what the Aston Martin cars are doing this weekend. All of the rumours have been about them just stopping straight away, and then they didn't stop straight away. They came back out, and it's all a little bit chaotic if you are Lance Stroll or Fernando Alonso. Liam Lawson closing into the back of Colapinto. Surprising that Liam Lawson hasn't been able to do more inside of that Racing Bull. Liam, I know, had a really bad start and kind of lost, unless there's damage to that car. I didn't see whether there was any damage caused to Lawson's car, but Lindblad has had really consistent, decent pace, you know. He's sort of keeping Ollie Behrman at bay. Lando Norris now catching up to the back of Ollie Behrman, but Behrman does have the overtake mode available to him. We're gonna have a little overtake train. We're gonna coin that phrase. We had DRS trains. Can we have an overtake train? I suppose that's sort of an oxymoron, isn't it? As Lando Norris makes his way past Ollie Behrman and gets his way through that overtake train that was there. Incident involving Sergio Perez ignoring blue flags. Has that just come through, or is that a little bit old? That's a little bit old. It's just come through on my end, but came through. Esteban Ocon fighting with Pierre Gasly once again. They love a little tussle, don't they? To Gasly and Ocon. A little bit of a slipstream. Ocon down towards turn 11. And a lovely little move from Esteban Ocon. Oh, Charles Leclerc, though, has just come up with the fastest lap of the race. So Ferrari have clearly given him a little bit of a hurry up with 19 laps left to go in this Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc, 9.5 seconds adrift of Kimi Antonelli still. But a 122.5 from Charles Leclerc to a 122.8 of Russell and a 122.9 of Antonelli ahead. Here we are then. Another overtaking opportunity for Gabriel Bortoleto as he's trying to get himself back up into the point scoring places, and does, as Esteban Ocon has to concede the position and Ocon down into 11th place. Bortoleto now looking at Pierre Gasly. It's a lot of overtakes happening really early on. I feel like everyone's trying, like, as soon as you get the opportunity to go for an overtake, sort of DRS, because of the way that the tires were, last season you'd see cars sort of wait a couple of laps. They'd be within overtaking range, and then they just kind of wait it out for a few laps here and there. But does not seem like the case this time around. As soon as they are within that overtaking second, they are using that overtake mode, and that extra 0.5 megajoules is enough to launch these cars around and get some overtaking maneuvers done, as Ollie Behrman is trying to find out as he goes down towards turn one. That was a little bit sloppy from Arvid Lindblad there, but Ollie Behrman keeps it a little bit safe, and that was a touch, you could argue, dangerous from Arvid Lindblad there. Ollie Behrman, though, is going to have the inside line going in towards turn 3. Behrman has the overtake done as they go through turn 4. Depends how much battery Ollie Behrman has used, though. Will Lindblad be able to come back at him down towards maybe turn 9 or turn 11? Ooh. Sainz and Colapinto also going side by side with one another, and they absolutely love it. Here comes Arvid Lindblad down towards turn 9, as I was saying, as Ollie Behrman maybe used a little bit too much battery, and Lindblad can maybe come back at him. Not this time around. Lindblad loves it, though. He has absolutely got the bit between his teeth, and maybe actually should have backed out a little bit earlier there, because Behrman's going to get a much nicer run through turn 10, down towards turn 11, but Lindblad is still going to be within a second of Behrman, and is certainly going to go for an overtake if he gets the opportunity to do so. Goodness me. Arvid Lindblad is loving it. Came across a little bit late, I'll be honest, in that move down towards turn 1, where Behrman did take the position from Lindblad. But, you know, he's a rookie. Give him a little bit of leeway. As long as he doesn't actually put Behrman into the barriers, that is fine. You can put Behrman near the barriers. Gabriel Bortoleto has indeed been able to get his way past Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly now as well, by the way. So Gabriel Bortoleto up into 9th place. And again, looking like some points on the board on debut for Audi. That is a brilliant, brilliant start to the season from them. Lindblad on debut, getting some points in the RB. Bortoleto getting Audi their debut points. It's all looking very happy for a lot of these new drivers to the grid. And Lindblad says, let's try and get him one more time. He's asking on the radio, saying, look, I know the tyres are going off a little bit, but I just want to run at him. Just want one little run at him as Max Verstappen comes into the pit for the main Red Bull team. He's fighting Lando Norris for 5th and 6th place. Lando Norris currently running in 6th. Verstappen, though, comes into the pits. Lando Norris has come around turn 14. They're going to come out fairly close to one another. Norris is going to be ahead, but how far ahead? Comes in towards turn 1 as Max Verstappen does make his way past the pit exit. There we are. Max Verstappen out of the pits. About 4 seconds adrift of Lando Norris. A little bit of a battle between those two. We'll run until the end of the Grand Prix. Lando Norris on 7-lap-old medium tyres. Max Verstappen now on some fresh, hard compound tyres until the end of the Grand Prix. Gasly and Ocon still bickering over that final point-scoring place. Ocon trying to take 10th place back from Gasly. Gasly not letting him have it. Bortoleto's made his way past both of them. Will Mercedes tyres start to fall away from them? They decided, well, they could still pit. You've just seen Max Verstappen pit for the second time in this Grand Prix. Maybe we'll see Mercedes pit again. They have to pit soon, though, because they're going to need enough laps. They will drop behind the Ferraris, and therefore they will need enough laps to actually get back in front of the Ferraris again. The Ferraris not going to make it easy. So it'll be interesting. Carlos Sainz also looking for a maneuver on Franco Colapinto. Tell you what, the grid this season is absolutely stacked with some brilliant drivers, isn't it? I thought last year's grid was good, but I think adding Perez and Bottas back in, and no offense to Yuki Tsunoda, but I think he was kind of getting towards the end. I'm loving having Lindblad on here as well. Lindblad seems like he is going to be real fun. Like, he is well up for a battle, is Arvid Lindblad. Here we go then. Russell and Antonelli continue. Russell just coming down towards turn 3. Antonelli through turn 2. They're 31 laps now on those hard compound tyres. And I really hope that the tyres can't go to the end, if I'm honest with you. Like, I'd love to see some 2-stop races this year. We had so many 1-stop races last season that just aren't fun. 2-stop races just gives that, or even something between, like where you can do a 1-stop, but you can do a 2-stop. But if you can just run these hard compound tires for, what would it be, 45 laps or whatever it will be, by the time Russell gets to the end, it's a little bit too much for one set of tires, in my opinion. And Ocon has a little look at Gasly again. It's still within overtake range, is Esteban Ocon. It's kind of the only battle that's going on at the moment. Everybody else without overtake. Oh, sorry, Carlos Sainz is within overtake range of Franco Colapinto as well. But the gaps are kind of elongating out a touch. Antonelli 6.6 behind his teammate. Then Leclerc 9.3. Hamilton 4.7. Just kind of spreading out a little bit. Oh, it's a bad race for tyre strategy generally. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I was just hoping, hoping that this year it could be a little bit different. I suppose it's because it's that weird kind of, it is a street circuit technically, but it's kind of not like, it doesn't get grouped in with the street tracks in the way that like Monaco and Baku do, does it? But it is a road. Like, it's a road you can drive on throughout the rest of the year. Both Williams cars have been lapped. Yes, I would assume so. Yeah, Esteban Ocon is the first car, or the final car, I should say, on the leading lap at the moment. And Charles Leclerc... Oh, no, sorry, George Russell's leading this race. George Russell is about to overtake Esteban Ocon. So Ocon is about to be lapped. So is Gasly. So actually, George Russell is going to lap almost all of the back markers, because I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to catch up to Gabriel Bortoleto as well. If he doesn't pit, of course. Still waiting and wondering whether he will decide to make that final pit stop. Verstappen is pushing hard, is what Lando Norris has been told over the radio, and is setting fastest laps is Max Verstappen. Fastest lap of the race from Max Verstappen, a 1:22 dead. So is indeed pushing his car to the absolute limit. Limit is Max Verstappen at this point. If both Mercedes cars pitted, where would they come out? Just behind the Ferraris. George Russell would come out still behind Lewis Hamilton at this point. Just. It'd be pretty close. He'd be within touch and distance, which is why I think like pitting now is not the worst thing in the world, because they could even maybe go for a soft compound tyre, but also Charles Leclerc isn't catching them at a ridiculous pace. I don't think he's catching them at all, actually. What was it? A 1:23.1 from Antonelli and a 1:23.1 from Charles Leclerc. So yeah, Leclerc and Antonelli matching each other's times at the moment. So Mercedes don't really need to gamble on a pit stop right now. It would just be good entertainment for us if they did. It would make it a lot more exciting if they did. Max Verstappen now within overtake range of Lando Norris. Oh, thank you for the super chat. The $2 Australian. Thank you for that, mate. I completely missed it. I don't know when it came in, but it's only just popped up on my OBS. I feel like having the Crash Happy stream before this stream has made my OBS very confused about everything that is going on. Lando Norris under pressure from Verstappen. Feels like 2025 all over again. but it's now for P5 and P6. It's not quite for the championship as it was last year, but that is all that Lando Norris and Max Verstappen have had inside their engines. And the fact that Max Verstappen also started at the back of the grid, remember, does just show that I think McLaren are that little step behind compared to the Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes cars. Carlos Sainz comes into the pit. He's decided to give up on that fight with Franco Colapinto by the looks of things. Hello from Texas. Hello. Oh, thank you for all of the subscriptions as well. If we could hit that subscribe button, that'd be absolutely amazing. Trying to hit 200,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And also, I don't really think we've set a goal on Crash Happy, but I'd love to, really get the subscribers up on the Crash Happy account as well. Audi's car seems to be running good. Really good. Really, really good. I know, obviously, Nico Hülkenberg out, but Gabriel Bortoleto, quick in terms of qualifying, and now also putting together some really solid laps in terms of race pace. Look at the gap between Gasly, Ocon, and Bortoleto now. And Bortoleto had only made his way past Gasly and Ocon a few laps ago, flying away from them. Gasly 12 seconds behind Bortoleto on track at the moment. I know Gasly's now slowing down because he's having to let George Russell and Kimi Antonelli past, but even so. Lando Norris under pressure. Verstappen looking at the back of that McLaren car, and that was a good lap from Verstappen. He's now half a second adrift of the McLaren car. Is this going to be Verstappen's moment to have a little look at Lando Norris? Not this time around, but will have that overtake button at his disposal. Carlos Sainz came out of the pits behind the two Mercedes. That's pretty nice. So George Russell and Antonelli won't have to deal with him. But Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton will. Leclerc and Hamilton now have 3 backmarker cars between them and the Mercedes. Gasly, Ocon, and Sainz all between Antonelli and Leclerc. Max Verstappen closing in to the back of Lando Norris. Still sort of half a second adrift though. Doesn't quite have the pace to close in dramatically this time around as they come through turn 9 and turn 10 together. Sergio Perez is ahead of Lando Norris as well, so he's going to have to dart out of the way of his old teammate to hopefully give Max Verstappen the ability to keep running at the back of Lando Norris, and does indeed. Sergio Perez lets both cars past as they go between turn 11 and turn 12. George Russell then isn't going to pit at this point. I think that's guaranteed now. We are too many laps in. Lap 49 of 58. Going to come into lap 50 now for George Russell. So they are gambling on those hard compound tyres going all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. And they should do. They don't look to be falling off a cliff too much. Charles Leclerc 122.8 last time around, but a 123 dead from George Russell. Kimi Antonelli a 122.9. So the lap times from the Mercedes and the Ferrari is pretty comparable at this point. Lewis Hamilton 3 seconds adrift of his teammate. Again, a 122.7 from Lewis Hamilton, so not really closing the gap either. The only real battle is Norris versus Verstappen. Behrman has disappeared up the road from Lindblad. Behrman's had a great race as well. I really feel like Behrman could be on for like a proper sort of standout season in that Haas car. And a first race ticked off, and a first race with some solid points for Ollie Behrman would be brilliant. Lindblad as well, though, looks a real handful. Bortoleto and Audi will be very, very happy with a 9th place finish. Pierre Gasly probably fairly happy with a P10, considering last year the points were fairly hard to come by. Just starting with 1 on the board and getting yourself rolling. Ocon 11th, Albon 12th, Lawson 13th, Colapinto 14th, Sainz and Perez 15th and 16th, and Lance Stroll has actually rejoined the track 12 laps down in his Aston Martin car. Aston Martin just using this more as a practice session than anything else Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll sort of dipping in and out of the pits when they please. As I say, Lance Stroll 12 laps down on the leaders, now coming through turn 10 on your screens. Alonso out, Bottas, Hadjar, Piastri and Hulkenberg definitely not coming back out on track. But wouldn't be surprised if Fernando Alonso randomly comes out in these final 8 laps. They have just been throwing the Aston Martin car out on track whenever they fancy it. Ocon ignoring the blue flags, you say? I mean, he is still trying to battle for a point here, is Ocon. It feels a little bit harsh on Ocon and Gasly. Like every time they've sort of started to build a little bit of a battle, as sort of Russell's come past and Antonelli's come past. I suppose you are a back marker. You do have to move out of the way, but Ocon also probably wants to have a little bit of a run at Pierre Gasly without having to give over and give some positions. Hamilton being told over the radio, keep pushing, you never know. I mean, I think we do know. I think it's done. Some say, Lewis, it's hammer time. Not allowed to say that anymore. It's trademarked, I think, by Bono. Peter Bonington. How I wish Lewis would have just stayed with Mercedes. They didn't offer him the contract, man. It wasn't Hamilton wanted 2 years and Mercedes were not willing to offer him 2 years. They wanted to get Kimi Antonelli in. Hamilton wanted the stability of a 2-year contract. And slightly played against him now, I guess you could say, but also he might not be on the grid anyway. They might have said, Lewis, you end of your contract at the end of 2026. Oh, sorry, end of 2025. And maybe they wanted to get Antonelli in for this season. Like, this could have been Antonelli's rookie campaign, maybe, or something like that. You never know. Russell ain't going to DNF. Not looking like it. Not looking like it. I mean, if you're a Ferrari fan, you can still take a lot of positives away from this weekend. Okay, yes. The Mercedes car still does look like the fastest car. And I think the Mercedes car is still the one to beat, but Charles Leclerc was leading the race at points. Lewis Hamilton obviously leading the race too, but that was sort of under circumstances where Charles Leclerc had pitted. Leclerc was right in there. And the start of the race, like you saw Charles Leclerc launch his car down towards turn 1 and take the lead of the Grand Prix. So the race starts that Ferrari are able to put in and the positions they're able to make up are just insane. Just basically means if Charles Leclerc can just qualify on the second row of the grid, he'll lead into turn 1 at most places because the launch was just so much better than everybody else. So there's a lot of positives you can take if you're a Ferrari fan here. I think they just gambled on Russell and Antonelli having to pit twice. And I know that, you shouldn't gamble on other people's strategy. You should always run your own race. But I think that's what Ferrari did. I think they saw that Russell and Antonelli pitted in front of them. And they went, okay, we'll do something different. But I just feel like they should have done one of one and one with the other, right? They should have pitted like Hamilton maybe. And then kind of kept Leclerc where he was. I don't think it would have made too much difference at this point in the Grand Prix, to be honest with you. I think Russell and Antonelli have shown that over a race distance, their pace is the best at the moment. But I don't think it's done and dusted. I don't think Ferrari are completely and utterly devoid of any kind of race-winning pace. I think Charles Leclerc has started to wind it down a little bit, though. 10.7 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli. Max Verstappen still looking at the back of Lando Norris's car. Hasn't been an overtaking opportunity for Max Verstappen yet. Lando Norris is on the medium tyre, so maybe that's sort of playing into it. Be interesting to see what Max Verstappen says after the race about this kind of battle that he's had with Lando Norris and where he feels like Lando Norris has had the pace to keep in front of him. Is it just the offset of tyres? Is it the out-and-out pace? Maybe it's a little bit of a fault somewhere in that Red Bull. Kind of have to wait and see. Them and then 7th place, Lindblad in 8th, Bortoletto in 9th, and Pierre Gasly in the final point scoring place, P10. Esteban Ocon still desperately trying to get himself into the points. Of course, Haas will have those points. It will be Mercedes leading the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari then behind, McLaren and Red Bull in 3rd and 4th. Bev and Haas will be in 5th place, 6th place to RB, 7th place to Audi, 8th place to Pierre Gasly and Alpine, 9th place Williams in the constructor standings, and then 10th place Cadillac, 11th place Aston Martin as it stands. Struggling to see why they give Max hards. I don't know if he had a set of mediums available. I don't have the tyre choices up in front of me anymore. He might not have had a medium set that was available to him. Might have used all of his mediums during free practices and stuff. Because they probably were expecting this to be a one-stop race. It was just the virtual safety car allowed them the opportunity to do something a little bit different. But, you know, pitting under the virtual safety car has given Mercedes that advantage. You'd kind of take off the little bit of time that obviously Leclerc and Hamilton would gain from pitting under the virtual safety car. Sort of gains you about 8 to 10 seconds. So Leclerc would likely be a couple of seconds behind Antonelli. Hamilton, sort of the same. So it's not as big of a gap just because the virtual safety cars stop playing into Russell and Antonelli's favour. Does look a little bit more of a gap than it is, but yeah, it is. It is 10 seconds, but should be more like 4 seconds, maybe. Still a chunk, still a chunk, but maybe makes it look a little bit more. Here we go then. George Russell coming around the final few corners. Once again. Oh no, sorry, that's the start of the lap. Whoa. I was looking at the complete wrong bit of the screen. George Russell coming around turn 8 now. Russell and Antonelli looking at that. P1, P2. Charles Leclerc, P3. Hamilton, though, pushing a little bit. If he can get himself within that overtake range, maybe Hamilton can have a little run at Leclerc on the final lap, but still 1.8 seconds adrift as it stands. Lando Norris then 34 seconds adrift behind that. Verstappen has actually dropped to 2 seconds behind Norris, so Verstappen unlikely to make any kind of move. Gabriel Bortoleto is now within overtake range of Arvid Lindblad. Arvid Lindblad has been great entertainment. Got to give it to him on his debut. Definite one to watch over the course of the 23 races that we've got after this one. But Bortoleto smells another couple of points for Audi on their debut. He's got one more lap if he wants to maybe have a go at it. Needs to keep himself within that 1 second, though, and really close that gap to sort of half a second or so to be within proper overtaking range. What happened to Leclerc? Ferrari just didn't pit at the most opportune moment, unfortunately. Russell and Antonelli, they did nail it with the strategy. Pitting under the virtual safety car, gaining those seconds that they got under the virtual safety car really, really has sort of just, well, given them the gap that they've now got. And it does feel like Charles Leclerc is maybe struggling on those tyres a little bit, or he's having a tough time inside of that Ferrari because it's not quite as comfortable. Lewis Hamilton, 1.3 seconds the gap, though. They are coming around turn 13 now, so I don't think Lewis Hamilton is going to have overtake mode available to him. So Charles Leclerc is going to hold on for a podium place. Lewis Hamilton will come home in 4th. Lando Norris 5th place. Max Verstappen 6th place. Just looking at Charles Leclerc there. Ollie Behrman 7th place. Lindblad 8th. Bortoletto 9th. But closing in on the back of Lindblad and actually having a little look at Lindblad towards turn 3. Not able to make a move this time around, but he's still got time. Gabriel Bortoletto, he's got more than enough time to be able to make a move. Interesting that everybody has been lapped up to Ollie Behrman. So it is quite a big gap between the front runners and the midfield pack this year. George Russell has overtaken and lapped everyone else. Bortoletto now looking at Lindblad down towards turn 9. Is he going to be able to make a move? No, not this time around. Here comes George Russell then through turn 12, round turn 13, and is going to take one victory from one race. And it's a perfect weekend from George Russell. Pole position, wins the Grand Prix. 25 points on the board for George Russell in this 2026 campaign. Kimi Antonelli makes it a double for Mercedes. It's a 1-2 for them. And Mercedes looking very, very strong indeed. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton now come across the line almost side by side. So the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton finishes just half a second down on Charles Leclerc, but is a 3rd and 4th place for Ferrari. Lando Norris is going to come home in 5th place. Max Verstappen in 6th place. Behrman, Lindblad, Bortoletto, Gasly, Ocon, they're already locked in. As I say, they were lapped by the front runner, George Russell, so they will finish a lap down. But Behrman, solid 7th place finish from him. Best of the rest finish from Ollie Behrman inside of the Haas. Arvid Lindblad gave it his absolute best shot. And Lindblad in 8th spot behind. Gabriel Bortoletto finishes in 9th. Pierre Gasly in 10th. That rounds out our point scoring places. Ocon, Albon, Lawson, Colapinto, Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz all finished the Grand Prix. So did Lance Stroll. Technically, he's running around turn 13 now, although he is many, many laps down. 15 laps behind the leaders? And then Alonso, Bottas, Hadjar, Piastri and Hulkenberg did not come across the finish line at the end there. Alonso dipping into the pits for Aston Martin, coming back out again later in the race, but didn't finish it. Bottas coming to a bit of an emergency stop at the pit entry. Isaac Hadjar, an unfortunate stop for him, was running right up there. Could have maybe been in the discussion for podium places, depending on what kind of pace we'd have seen from him over the course of the rest of the race. We'll have to wait and see what Isaac Hadjar can do next time around. But he ended up coming to a stop just before turn 9 on a lap 10 or a lap 11 of the Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri, Nico Hulkenberg didn't really start. Must be the strategy. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Ferrari just didn't pit under the virtual safety car. Could have been something a little bit different, but then maybe their tyres wouldn't have been able to hold on in the same way that the Mercedes cars could. It's difficult to know. I'm going to disappear there, though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave likes, subscribes, all of that good stuff. We'll be back next weekend for the Chinese Grand Prix weekend, which is a sprint weekend. Yes, it is a sprint weekend. So we'll be live Friday, twice on Saturday and Sunday for the Grand Prix as well. Plus the extra live stream that we do over on Crash Happy before the Grand Prix starts. Starts a couple of hours before the Grand Prix. A little bit of a warm up for you. And then we go live here for the Grand Prix itself. Thank you, as I say, thank you to all of the brand new subscribers. Thank you for all liking the stream. It's been absolutely amazing. I will see you very, very soon. Have a wonderful weekend.